What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and yes! Through to the next round, and beyond just that, it was a good performance, and we got some players that I was excited to see on the field, too. So, getting right into it, first of all, talk about the penalty, because it didn't really affect the game overall. Even if they had scored it, it still would have been 4-1. I don't think it really would have been that much momentum built up for them, because it was one mistake, and I think if they had scored, it would have been a little kick in the ass for us, and we would have stepped up our game. But here's the thing. VAR was used to look into it, and it was still given as a penalty. And this, in my opinion, is why VAR ultimately will never be what people want it to be, which is a way to correct referees' mistakes. And the reason is because there's a person running that VAR system. And so they look at that, and it's still their opinion. It's still based on their opinion. And in my opinion, you look at that, you look at it closely, you look at what's going on. Yes, Fabregas steps in, but he doesn't actually block him off or anything. Wilson leaves his left leg out, kicks Fabregas, and flops over. And honestly, hurts himself in the process because instead of running past him, getting around him, he just kicks him and then lets his body go limp, and in the process lands hard on his shoulder. And that's the big problem with VAR. The VAR looks at it, he's like, oh yeah, clearly penalty, keep it going. But I look at it and I'm just like, even as a Chelsea fan, I know I'm biased, but you really look at it in slow motion and it's clear that Fabregas is here and Wilson is here, and that leg is right there, sticking out. That's clearly trying to force the contact, but VAR still gave it. So it's still a problem with the system. And so that's the only reason I wanted to bring it up, is just because I feel like until they realize that VAR is a flawed system, it's not ever going to get better. It's still going to stay the same. And that's where I feel like it's got to be more of a group decision. I know that sounds weird, and I know it would take forever to be like, all right, 3 guys look at it, decide, best 2 out of 3 gets the call. But I really do feel like you get 3 people involved. You get, one person is a former player, one person former ref, one person former coach, something like that. So you get different types of people in there. Each one looks at that and they may see something different. Maybe you get a defender, a midfielder, and a striker all in there. So the defender looks at that and says, oh, well, clearly he stuck his leg out. The forward's like, oh, no, Fabregas stepped in. So, get different opinions in there instead of just having one guy in charge of it. Because if that one guy is an idiot and doesn't see stuff right, well, then, it's not going to change their opinion. And I think the biggest example of that is VAR in the MLS. It's still ultimately down to the center ref's opinion. And so I was at an Atlanta United game. One of our guys got a red card for nothing, a nothing foul. The VAR said, hey, go look at it. And the guy looked at it. It was still an idiot. It's just like, nah, I was right the whole time. Red card, get off. And see, there's a problem with that. Here, they do have a VAR ref who's looking at it and is like, all right, checking it for stuff. But if that guy doesn't see things correctly, then it can still make a mistake. So anyway, that's my VAR rant. Let's talk about Conte's decisions. In my opinion, pretty good overall. Caballero gets another start, which, I like the fact that he's getting to start in these, the League Cup matches, the FA Cup matches. I'm glad he is getting to play because ultimately he's still a pretty good keeper, and he's definitely doing a good job and has done a good job in the few games where Courtois was out. So I'm really glad he's getting some time. He's definitely deserved it, and the penalty stop was really, really good. You look at the back 3, you got Ampadu in the middle, Rudiger and Cahill, which means Azpilicueta gets a break, and Christensen gets a break, which is really good since we got Barcelona coming up. Zappacosta and Emerson. Emerson gets his first start. Great to see. Fabregas, I will say I was hoping Fabregas would get a rest so he could play alongside Conte against Barca, but I kind of understand, the only other option we really had was Kyle Scott, and ultimately he did come in pretty early in the second half, so that was good. And then the front 3 of William, Pedro, and Giroud, I think is a good front 3. Ultimately, I do think Morata will probably get the start against Barcelona just because I think he knows Barcelona a bit better than Giroud does because he's faced him with Real in the past. So I do think he's probably going to get the start there just because he's used to that style of play. And I hope he will be able to utilize that effectively. So it's nice to see Giroud get the start. Willian and Pedro obviously have been starting most of the cup competition, so it's nice to see them both get to start again. And then you look at the subs, and I mean, all three really good. First one, Hudson-Odoi comes on, but not just like, oh, here's 15 minutes. No, he got the full second half. That was good to see. Kyle Scott comes on, and it's like 30 minutes left. He comes on for Fabregas. I'm like, that's good time. And then Murata comes on. I think it was like 20, maybe somewhere between 20 and 25 minutes. I mean, that's good time, especially coming back from an injury. To get him back into the fitness of it, get him back into shape, so he can be ready for Wednesday's game or Tuesday's game. So yeah, in my opinion, all three of the subs and the lineup overall pretty good. I would say if I have any problem at all, it's the fact that we didn't really utilize either of the other two youngsters on the bench. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm glad Murata did get time, but at the same time, I feel like of those four on the bench, Hudson-Odoi, Chalobah, Sterling, and Scott, of those four, I would say Hudson-Odoi and Sterling are the two that we might need to utilize in future games, just because we have Hazard, Pedro, Willian, but if any of those get hurt, we're only down to two for two positions. We're going to need somebody like Hudson-Odoi to possibly step in. And for Sterling, I mean, Alonso's been hurt for a while, and we've been using Zappacosta. Emerson, I guess, hasn't been ready to step into the first team, so I think Sterling needs a shot, and he's done well with the couple opportunities he's gotten. So I would have liked to see possibly Sterling get in, and maybe even Chalobah. I haven't seen much of him aside from the youth level. He looks okay at the youth level, from what I've seen, and I would like to see how he would do at the senior level as well, just because our options in the back can be limited at times. If obviously Christensen and Azpilicueta most of the time have a really good game, Cahill hit and miss, but most of the time it's not that good. Rudiger has been pretty good, but he has had a couple bad games, and then David Luiz is just. And then aside from that, you've got Ampadu, who Conte just hasn't really been giving a shot to, and then after that, nothing really. And so I would have liked to see Chalobah just to see what he's got, what can he bring to the table. But just slight problems, not really big issues at all. Just little things that kind of in the back of my mind, little nagging voice. So anyway, let's talk about individual performances. Caballero, like I said, played well today. Good penalty stop, and I mean even after that, had to make a really good save. Later on, it was pretty much a one-on-one chance Zappacosta created, and he made a good save, forced it wide. He's doing well, and I'm glad that we have a keeper in that looks really good. That's our backup, because it makes me feel more comfortable if something does happen to Courtois. I'm just like, okay, Caballero is a good backup option. Rudiger on the right side, good, solid defensively, very strong again, and just looked like a very confident defender tonight, which at times he can look a little bit kind of all over the place and wild. But, man, one of the things that really impressed me tonight was his switches. I mean, I've seen it before. I've seen him switch the ball several times. But tonight it was just, like, really, really good. Like, he was finding a lot of really good passes across. So, really good passing from him tonight. Ampadu in the middle, another good solid game from the youngster. He's still, you can tell he's still young, but at the same time he's playing with some good confidence. And in my opinion, I think he's a better option than David Luiz. And I don't know why Conte doesn't see that. Because I'm looking at him just like, I don't understand why you can't see it. Because it's clear to me. Just everything he does, he's confident. He's not the wild craziness of David Luiz. He's not getting sucked out of the back three and into the midfield and then no cover back there. He works his butt off. I mean, I'd prefer to have a player like that in there over a player like David Luiz, who's going to give you crazy wildness and no cover in defense and hurt you defensively. So that's just my opinion, but I mean, until Conte can see it, it's probably still going to be David Luiz for some reason. Cahill on the left side, no real problems from him. There was one moment later on where he just lost out and just, I don't know, it was like he was waiting for a foul that wasn't going to come because there was no foul. But I don't know, just a couple moments like that where he's kind of a little bit lazy on the ball, a little bit too much of an overplayer. Just not in the defense, please. Please stop doing that. That's a problem I had with you last year. We've moved on from that. But tonight, yeah, it was back to that. Trying to cut and dribble past people even though he's got no speed. I don't know why he tries. But overall, defensively he was solid, so that was good to see. Zappacosta on the right side, once again, he's not a wing back. He's a wing. And the thing is, he didn't look bad tonight, but it's because it was Hull. He wasn't really required to get back and help that much. But I think you put him out there against a better team. You put him out there against a team that's going to attack down the wings, and we get hurt whenever he's out there because he does not work back defensively. Occasionally he does, but it's never really that hard. The best example I can think of is when Cahill lost the ball. Everybody's running back, trying to get back to help out. Zappacosta's kind of like jogging behind his man. And then when you end up winning the ball back, we go back down the field, counterattack. Zappacosta's sprinting down the line to get up in the attack. I'm just like, when you have a defensive wingback whose first mindset on defense is to jog back, but first mindset on the attack is to sprint forward, that's not good enough. You've got to sprint both sides, or you got to, I'm not saying jog both sides at all, but you can't work hard on the attack and not work hard defensively. Like, that's not allowed. And the fact that he does that and Conte continues to use him is just kind of shocking to me, because that's not Conte's style at all. Conte is a work hard to win the ball back first, not a, oh yeah, go up in the attack and then get back when you can. So I don't know. I'm still really frustrated with him. A lot of the times he's crowding up the space up there because we're trying to get the ball out of the back, and he's gone all the way up to the back line, and we're passing around in the back. There's no width because he's all the way on the back line. He is wide, but he's marked by one of the fullbacks because he's all the way up there. And so we have to have one of our midfielders slide out, or one of the center backs has to drop over there, which means we've got to drop to one side, and it just messes up our balance whenever he goes all the way down the field. And it's not like he's helping us. You're just standing there next to the defender. How does that help us at all? You're not making runs. If you do try to run in behind, any ball over the top is probably going to go out of bounds. So it's just all these little things that tonight didn't hurt us because it's Hull City and they're not that good. But against a better team, we're going to get hurt like that because you're not helping us out defensively, and on the attack, you're not really giving us a whole lot unless you're on the ball. So, yeah, that's my opinion of him. I know some people disagree. Some people really like him and what he does. In my opinion, he had a few good games at the beginning, but now he's turned into a very attack-minded player that doesn't really care about defense, and then even on the attack, he just doesn't provide enough. Emerson on the other side, didn't see a whole lot out of him either, but the big thing for me is he does have a bit more speed than Marcos Alonso does, so I'm hoping if he can develop as a player, it would be nice, just because I feel like we do need somebody to sort of take over that spot. Kennedy also had more speed than Alonso, but was also very naive at times. He's a clever little player, but not really the best defensive player. Emerson definitely seems like he is a decent defensive player, and on top of that works hard both sides of the ball. So I do think there's more to see out of him, but in my opinion, I was okay with it. And I don't know, I get this feeling like he can be a better player. We just need to utilize him a bit more. I don't know. It's kind of one of those things, because it's Hull City, some of these players, it's hard to really gauge how they're going to play in other games. So for Emerson, it was kind of like, it was okay. There were moments of bright points, but at the same time, I'm just like, is that because it was Hull? Would he not be as defensively good against a better team? I don't know, but we'll have to see going forward. In the midfield, Fabregas and Drinkwater both played pretty well. Fabregas, really good balls over the top again. Back to, in my opinion, what he does well, just that nice quick play, keeping it simple, but if something's on over the top, he's going to look for it and he's going to see it. So I'm hoping he starts with with Conte against Barcelona, and I hope they're able to sort of find space and time in the midfield for him, because when he does have that time, man, he can find a pass still. And then Drinkwater worked hard. I will say one of the problems I had with him tonight was just too many silly fouls in places where you don't really need to foul. There are times where they're facing their goal and dribbling backwards, and it's just like, let them dribble under pressure. It's not like they're going anywhere, and then he'd foul them. And now all of a sudden they have an outlet. Now they can get out of the pressure. So, I don't know, just the little things like that, I'm just like, you got to improve on that. You got to be smarter and know not to foul there. But his play on the ball was pretty good. He kept it simple for the most part. Didn't try a lot of really hard balls, really difficult balls. So I think overall it was a decent game from him. I just want to see him improve in little areas like the fouls. And then up top, Pedro, didn't see a whole lot out of him. Once again, his hard work to win the ball back was fine, but on the ball is where I expect to see a bit more out of him because he's one of those front attacking three and just isn't providing enough. I'm glad he scored the goal because frankly he's been missing a lot of those recently, those kind of one-on-one chances. It feels like the easy chances are the ones that always go begging for him. It feels like he can only score these great goals from outside the box half the time. But in my opinion, the one problem I still have with him is just he loses the ball too much for me. Too many sloppy passes, too many dribbling into dangerous positions and then losing out because he doesn't have enough strength. So I want to see an improvement there because he is one of those attacking three, and I want to see more out of an attacking trio like that. But Willian on the other side, was just really, really strong tonight. Really good. 2 goals to show for it. And created a lot of our best chances. His hard work, his willingness to get on the ball and try to find space and find a pass. He worked his butt off tonight. And the only sad part for me is that Pedro was taken off probably because he's going to play against Barcelona. But I'm hoping that after that, Conte looks ahead and says, all right, Willian was great tonight. Let's utilize him against Man U and Man City because we're going to need somebody to play like he did tonight against them. And then Giroud as the striker, the front three. Pretty good game from him overall. The one thing I'm still seeing best out of him is just his ability to hold up the play and keep it moving, use his strength very well. He's a smart player when it comes to that. He knows he's not the fastest, so he knows he's not going to beat guys off the, trying to beat him on the run. So he does a very good job of showing for his feet, getting the ball, using his strength well, knowing where the defender is, and then trying to find a little layoff pass. And, a couple of those really worked out. I want to say he got the assist for Willian's first goal. Can't remember. I know it kind of bounced around a little bit before Willian picked it up. He kind of did. He made a good challenge. Now I remember. Made a good challenge and then Willian picked it up. But, the Pedro goal, nice little hold-up play, lays it off to Fabregas, who then finds Pedro over the top. That build-up play is exactly what I want to see out of a striker like Giroud. I want to see him get the ball, find somebody back, and then it pays dividends. So the only problem I'm having is on the counterattack he may not be so good, which is why I think against Barcelona, probably going to see Morata because counterattacking is probably going to be our best option against Barcelona if I'm being honest. And Giroud just really wouldn't help us in that respect. On the one hand, you could look at it and say, well, maybe he'll give us an outlet so he can get out against Barcelona. But on the other hand, I look at the counterattack, I look at the speed we're going to need up top. Morata definitely seems the better option because Giroud just doesn't have that speed to get up. As for the subs that came on, Hudson-Odoi, overall, pretty good. Nothing that makes me think, he's ready. He needs to be in the starting lineup now. Because I still think Hazard, obviously, best option. Willian, very good option. Pedro has his moments. And then Hudson-Odoi, kind of the same as Pedro, has his moments. But isn't really that player that I'm just like, yes, I want him in. Because there's still moments where he sort of turns off for a second or doesn't really have the strength to keep playing. But the one thing he does bring is he can move the ball well. There are times where it's just it feels like he's about to lose it, and he just has this quick little touch to poke it past and then keep going. And he's got a quick change of acceleration too. So, in my opinion, he does bring quite a bit for a youngster, but I still feel like he just needs a little bit something more added to his game before he becomes that, yes, we need him in the team option. Scott came on. And he did pretty well, too. I wasn't really expecting much out of him because I've seen him in the past. I'm just like, okay, he's okay. He's a decent little midfielder. Not really a lot of strength or speed on him. But tonight, he worked hard. His speed definitely looked a lot better tonight, and he put in some really good tackles in the midfield. That was the one thing that I noticed out of him the most. His passing at times could be good, at times, giveaways. But he really worked hard to win the ball back in the midfield, and in my opinion, that was impressive from me. I wanted to see a player come in like that who's going to be willing to put in a strong challenge and win the ball, and Kyle Scott did it. So it's going to be nice to see if he can continue to improve his game, get a bit faster, get a bit stronger, and then also work that passing so he can find, some better balls in the midfield, because there were a couple where I'm just like, yeah, that needs to be worked on. And the last one on was Murata, and just kind of came on. I didn't really see much out of him in the last 20 minutes. I was fast forwarding a little bit whenever it got slow. Hull had a lot of possession near the end of the game because we got a little bit lazy with our passes, mainly in our defense. So, I don't know. I expected to see a little bit more out of Murata just because I feel like you've been out for a bit with the injury, time to show why you need to step back into the team. I just didn't really see that out of him, and so I'm a little bit disappointed. I was hoping to see a reaction, and I didn't really get one. But anyway, that's all for this game. So obviously, kind of excited going into the Barcelona game just because we did have a fairly easy game here. Comfortable win. Got to play some youngsters. Got to rest some of our better players. So I feel like we're going into the Barcelona game with our best 11. It may turn out to be poor. Like I said, the West Brom game we weren't really tested tonight. Weren't really tested either. So I feel like we haven't really faced a challenge yet in the past two games, and I feel like Barcelona is going to be a lot better than West Brom or Hull could possibly give us. So I am a little bit concerned going into it for that reason, but at the same time, I want to see what we can do against one of the best teams in the world right now. I mean, they are on top of their game. They're playing really well in their own league and tearing it up. So obviously we're going to have to be on the top of our game. But it's moments like this that you got to get excited for. It's playing one of the best teams in the world, and we are hopefully going to be one of the best teams in the world this year. So we really got to step up our game. We got to show what we're made of. And so for that reason, I am excited, even though things have not been looking that great for us recently. But hopefully Conte's got their attitudes turned around. It did feel like sort of after the Watford game, maybe this is the step-up moment for him. Maybe it's the time for him to say, all right, enough of this. I'm turning this team around. I'm going to get us back on track. So maybe we are. Maybe we're going to be back on track for the Barcelona game, but I suppose we'll have to see. Anyway, that's it for me, so let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on this game? Let me know. We can talk about it, discuss, all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Chelsea reviews, and I'll see you guys in the next game. Peace out.